The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Do you have a little one and need a stroller for your next Disney vacation? Then Kingdom Strollers has the stroller for you. They've got a great variety of well-maintained strollers that fit any need. Go to their website and check out the City Mini Double, the City Mini Single, or any one of their wide selection of great strollers. They also have crib and bedding rental as well. During every one of my Disney vacations, I can't go a couple of minutes without seeing a happy young guest in a Kingdom stroller that is followed by a parent that knows they made a great stroller rental decision. Want to see how Kingdom Strollers can help you? Go to their website at kingdomstrollers.com. That's kingdomstrollers.com. This is Mr. Chris, and I love a good cup of coffee anytime throughout the day. In fact, I like my coffee hot or cold, brewed in my single-serve pod coffee maker or in a French press. I even like my coffee both iced and even cold brewed. Regardless of how I decide to enjoy my Java, there is only one Java that I truly enjoy, and that is Expedition Roasters. Not only do I love their traditional brews such as Route 66 Tire Fix and Dark Side Roast, I love their flavors such as Bob Slitter's Brew, Charming Chocolate Cherry, and Happily Never After. To me, their coffees are never bitter, and I enjoyed every flavor I've ever tried. And did you know that Expedition Roasters also carries some of their flavors in decaf? They're perfect for that afternoon cup. You also have to check out their different teas as well, which are great hot or iced. When you're ready to enjoy the best in pop culture-inspired coffee and teas, check out expeditionroasters.com. Are you looking for a travel agent who has over 20 years of experience to take care of your Walt Disney World vacation, or your Disneyland vacation, or your Disney Cruise Line vacation, or even those non-Disney vacations? Contact Mickey Adventures by Brandy. Her services are fee-free, and she can take care of all the details for you. You know, things like ADRs and fast passes for you as well. Mention the show and get a Disney gift card if you book a 3-night or longer Disney vacation with park tickets with her. Contact Brandy at mickeyadventures.com. That's BRANDI at mickeyadventures.com, or give her a call at 774-400-3541. To you live from our studios on the East Coast and in the Midwest, it's the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Behind Ears podcast. How's everybody doing on this I still want to say Friday Eve, and this Thursday Eve, this Hump Day, this Wednesday? It is really good to see everybody here. So I got a really fun show tonight. I love movies. I think a lot of people who've been watching the show, listening to the show for quite some time, you know that I'm a pretty big movie buff. I really enjoy movies. And you know what? The cool part about it is this time of year, December, is like the time I get to watch the most movies ever, mainly because I start taking time off for work, because I got to take the vacation time. And at the same time, hey, kids around, and it's just really, really fun time. And so with that in mind, I brought on a friend of mine tonight who I think is probably even a bigger movie buff than myself. I'd like to have everybody welcome Jonathan Johnson from DizRadio.com. Jonathan, how are you doing this afternoon? This evening? How are you doing?
This evening, doing okay. I held everybody up on the show. So, I'm just gonna put that out there right away. I held everybody up because, not only is it, the Christmas season where you get to binge watch, it's also I'm off of day job stuff. So you get to renovate. So, I've been kind of busy with a lot of things. That, and I have an army of kids, but I am glad to be here, taking a break from Diz Radio right now to chat with you. And I'm always excited to chat movies, you name it.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be really cool. The thing is that I know we talked a little bit about movies and TV in general in the past. And of course, now with the Christmas stuff, there's always this plethora of really cool set of Christmas movies. And I'll tell you this right now, please forgive me, everybody, if I say something that offends you here, but I don't count Hallmark Christmas movies, as something that I find entertaining. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that right now.
I will say though, the only time I will consider them good Christmas movies is because I like watching Nikki DeLoach, who also, former Musketeer. So, that's just a personal love of mine.
Okay, I'll give you that. I will. And it's just kind of interesting how we have all of our vices.
But they are not true Christmas movies. I agree with you.
Well, I don't know. It just seems like this. It's almost like a flood, a flood of Christmas movies. But to kind of start off with, first off, do you think that you focus more on Christmas movies when you start to binge on some of these things, or do you go for the classic? I'll say the classic CBS style, Charlie Brown Christmas and all those other, Frosty and things like that.
It's a big difference because I love the classics. I love Rudolph, Frosty, all the Rankin Bass stuff. That's classics. But I never watch those at the start of the season to get me in the mood. I actually watch a bunch of other Christmas movies and I close out the season with my all-time favorites. Like I'm going to watch Charlie Brown once and The Grinch once, just because it's the culmination of Christmas. So I kind of build up to those final ones on those last couple of days before Christmas. But before that, I binge every Christmas movie you can think of. And I usually kick off the season. There's two ways to kick off the season. The first one is, after Thanksgiving, the day after decorate for Christmas. And then the kids and I will sit down and we'll watch Elf, just a standard.
So soon in the season.
Well, to me, the day after Thanksgiving is kicking off. And I don't consider Elf like a true Christmas movie like everyone else does. I think it's a fun, free-form family kind of movie. It's fun. I love it. It's funny, but it's not like a true Christmas movie to me. It's just a fun Will Ferrell movie. Like, I don't watch it and I go, oh, wow, it's Christmas time. But then I usually close out the night watching Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, because that is the true first airing ever of the song White Christmas.
Oh, I guess you could say I was not really aware of that.
Everybody always thinks it's from the movie White Christmas, which they didn't film that until 10 years later.
I didn't know. I mean, that's actually quite interesting because I always thought it was from the movie White Christmas and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I mean, besides, let's face it, there's a lot of really awesome Christmas music in a lot of these different programs, and some of them become classics like that, which, let's face it, this year, people started playing Christmas music, minutes after Halloween.
Which drives me nuts because I love Halloween.
Yeah, it was just nuts. I really couldn't stand it. All of a sudden I flipped the station and I thought it was going to be one thing, and it's it's Christmas music. I'm like, what's going on? And I didn't actually get to watch the the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving until Thanksgiving, which I will admit I fell asleep thanks to a turkey coma.
But do you watch the other Thanksgiving stuff like Garfield Thanksgiving, or going back to Rankin and Bass, Mouse on the Mayflower?
I didn't this year, and it was not on purpose. It was more based upon time more than anything else. I will most likely see more of the Christmas specials. And it's kind of funny because my wife and I tend to watch most of our TV programs recorded the day after, or I should say the morning after. It's kind of our morning routine. Our son goes off to school. I make breakfast, sit back with a cup of coffee, and we watch TV programs. Well, now is the time where there's this huge lull of TV. So, there's really nothing going on. So we've been flipping through some Prime Video stuff and some other recorded stuff, but also some stuff on Disney Plus, of course. And, we're going through, I mean, we are watching like older, Full House and things like that, and trying to hit some of the Christmas ones and so on and so forth. It's just one of those things. But I am now going through my TiVo, and scanning every evening to making sure that I hit any of the great animated classics on the major networks. And at the same time, I already have my collection of Christmas movies as well, with everything from Elf. I will watch Elf probably Christmas Eve. I will admit. Elf and Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the argument. Die Hard, Christmas movie or not? I have to ask.
I think it's a good movie that takes place during Christmas. To me, I consider it as Christmas as people who play Harry Potter movies and say Christmas, because there's that one line where he says, "Happy Christmas, Harry," and there's snow on the ground.
Okay, I can respect that. I can respect that a lot.
But I don't knock anybody that watches it during the season.
Very cool. I can dig that. I could dig that,
because there's some far cries that I consider things Christmas or Halloween, or there's some far 6 degrees of separation.
Oh, okay. I could see that. So right now, yeah, we're starting to really get into the idea of going through and recording all the big stuff, and then we'll go ahead and start watching them, in the evening, especially as things starts to wind down. My son will be done with his time at school next Friday. My wife will be finishing her class next Friday, and it's one of those cases where we'll have a little bit more time, as long as my wife is not necessarily working at night. It's kind of funny, we're talking about some of the things like Elf. You and I both brought it up. Brandy brings up, I'm in the minority and don't like Elf, but she loves National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Here's the thing. I'm on Brandy's side. Like, I like Elf. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But National Lampoon's is where we live in our house. So much so, on Thanksgiving, we actually have moose mugs that we bring out and fill with eggnog. And I bought these years ago, before they actually made them mass produced. I tracked down the guy who created the actual moose mugs for the film out of Canada, and had him custom glass blow me replicas.
Oh my.
To us, National Lampoon's is where it's at. So that is like the pinnacle of Christmas movies. So much so, if I was in my normal studio right now, you would see my moose mug right here during this nice conversation. We have a wall plaque that says this is going to be the happiest Christmas, all kinds of stuff. So, I'm with her on that one.
Well, Jerry also agrees with you. She's like, if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then Iron Man 3 is also one, because it takes place at Christmas.
Again, happy Christmas, Harry.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And Jerry is like totally like, moose mugs. Yes.
Well, that's why I'm dressed like this right now. I was going to have my moose mug with some eggnog and have the nice semi-cousin Eddie, but not as trashy going on.
Oh man, the funny part about it is that I forgot that Christmas Vacation was actually rated R. And one year I bought it because it was before the days of Amazon Prime, and I needed a $5 movie to get above that $35 mark to get free shipping. So I said to myself, I'll go ahead and buy Christmas Vacation. And I'll go ahead and I'll put it in a Blu-ray player. And as we were sitting, in the family room, I was putting together something. I think I was putting together a desk, and put it on, and I forgot there are some F-bombs and stuff that are dropped. Yeah. My wife looked at me and gave me that stare, the stare that means that you better care. And I decided that would probably be a movie that'll wait until my kids are much older.
It is a tough one, because I have it playing with my kids too.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when my youngest, because, I have a gaggle of children, sometimes I'll put it on when they're playing in the background and I know no one's really listening. Or when they really want to watch the movie with dad, the younger ones, I'll record it off of like a Freeform or something where I know that they're going to edit it anyways then. So then I'll watch that version with them. So then they still experienced it with dad, in air quotes.
Oh my gosh, that's actually really funny. So let me ask you this: other types of family Christmas movies
Oh man.
that I think that I enjoy. Like I always go for the Santa Claus trilogy, except for some reason, like the one with Martin Short, I like, but it sometimes Martin Short gets on like the nails on the fingerboard or nails on the fingerboard,
Martin
nails on
Short,
the blackboard.
Martin Short.
Yeah. And it was just it was one of those crazy things. And I fell in love with the Santa Claus movie from the very first one because I mean, first off, it's Tim Allen. I mean, what can possibly go wrong with Tim Allen? And at the same time, it just was a timeless, a timeless movie, so to speak. And I thought they were kind of a little bit crazy by doing, the second and third ones. So I usually end up just watch the original and so be it because I only have so much time to begin with anyway. Um, what are some of your go-to Christmas movies outside of Christmas Vacation? Because that does
Oh
sound
man,
like
you are opening Pandora's box. There's some that are horribly bad that I really like, which I do like. Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore from the '80s, awesome movie. Small One, of course, classic Disney animation. You cannot go wrong with Small One. It's a fantastic one as well.
I haven't seen it.
If you're gonna go kind of modern with the family, you got Mickey Snowden at the House of Mouse,
Oh
Mickey
yeah,
on Christmas, Twice Upon a Christmas, Mickey's Christmas Carol. You have Disney's Christmas Gift from 1982. One of my favorites, One Magic Christmas from Disney, which I think is a fantastic, good movie with Mary Steenburgen. If you do like Elf, you got that connection going on. So when it comes to family, there's just so many. Rankin Bass, of course, anything from them. Rudolph, Frosty, Frosty's Winter Wonderland, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph and Frosty Christmas in July. There's, like I said, you're going to open Pandora's box. I also, White Christmas, Holiday Inn, the original Christmas in Connecticut. I mean, I could just go on and on from old school to new school.
Yeah, I could, wow. I mean, you're rattling off things that I haven't seen in ages. And now I'm like, okay, I got to figure out where to find that. I know that one's on Disney Plus. I know that, this is that and the other.
I would say one of the hidden gems on Disney Plus that somebody should watch if they haven't is One Magic Christmas. That is a really good classic 80s live action film. I mean, it is a good one.
And besides, it's from the 80s. It's got to be good. I mean, let's face it, anything made in the 80s.
Well, my 9-year-old will tell you that all the time. He loves everything from the 80s. He's like, you had the best. They had theme songs for cartoons. I'm like, yes, they did. Which goes back to other Christmas things that are so bad that you can enjoy. If you want something that's so bad, go to the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I found that on YouTube. My son and I are going to watch it next week.
You cannot go wrong with, Father Itchy and Chewie's son Lumpy. But also, you can watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Very Merry Christmas. It's so horrible it's good. Or He-Man and She-Ra's Christmas.
Wow.
I could go on the Munsters. Scary. Oh, Scrooged. There you go. That's a good one.
And then, of course, Polar Express, which I haven't seen in ages, but awesome Tom Hanks. In fact, that movie was a technological breakthrough when it first came out, just because of how it was animated and such.
Do you know what gets me with Polar Express is when it first came out, I actually hated the movie. I thought the technology was horrible. I thought it was painful to watch and everything other than a couple of the songs. And then as I got older and older and older and, I have all these kids, now I find myself like weeping like a baby, like, oh my God, my children. So now it hits me in a totally different way.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I could see that. And that movie was, well, I've only seen it like twice and it's been a while. So my memory is still a little bit foggy with it, but I remembered the movie to be very touching, but at the same time, I think I had to watch it twice because I didn't catch everything the first time, which is actually a side effect of winter movie watching, especially Sunday afternoon. I'll admit, you sit back after lunch, you watch a movie, you have to watch the movie again because you fell asleep halfway through the movie. To this day, I've never been able to watch the first Harry Potter movie all the way through because I would end up watching it in the wintertime. I'd watch the first half hour, 45 minutes, fall asleep. And because the movie is so long, I'd end up watching the last 45 minutes. I don't know what happens in the middle part of that movie. It's a simple, it happens every winter. I actually do that. So yeah, it is one of those things. So,
I was going to say, not to cut you off, but one of the best movies too is, of course, A Christmas Story. And, you know, one of the things that I love is I actually love old time radio shows. You know, I love golden age OTR stuff. And if you listen to some from the early 80s and late 70s, you can actually, you know, hear him tell his stories, you know, of A Christmas Story before it became a movie. And listening to him tell these stories from his book, In God We Trust, All Else Pay Cash, is just awesome.
That I've heard of that, and it is actually pretty epic. And the funny part about A Christmas Story is that it's supposedly based here in Northwest Indiana, which technically, of course, it wasn't. But it was always kind of funny to hear the towns being referred to, and you know it was almost accurate for the time. It was actually really pretty good. That movie, I will tell you this. I hate to say it's kind of cringeworthy, especially because I'm going to admit something, but you remember, of course, the scene where he sticks his tongue against the flagpole.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't know that, right? Okay, so I'm going to incriminate myself. Where I grew up had a sliding glass door. The sliding glass door had a metal frame, and in wintertime, it frosted over. Well, I thought, oh, it's ice. I'll lick the ice. When I was a little itty bitty kid, I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. It resulted in having my tongue get stuck to the frame of the sliding glass door, as it is pretty much darn frozen. Yeah, I don't want people to cringe, but that is what happened. You can picture it now. And instead of pouring like hot water or warm water on my tongue to have things melt, my parents didn't tell me. I'm like, what? You haven't? Then later on, I see a Christmas Story. I'm like, why didn't you realize? Anyway, I love my parents, but come on, that sort of thing was just like, arg.
Some of the stories that I heard from Christmas Story though were great, because I had Flick on Diz Radio a couple years ago, and he was telling me stuff off air that I was just like, had me laughing like crazy. So now I watch that movie with a whole new appreciation. And now watching it on Blu-ray, I noticed all the little things, like little things in the background or milk spilled, and I'm like, what? I never noticed this before, or am I watching it too much?
Could be both. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad thing if that was the case, but it could be both. So now I will say this: you started off your season with Elf. I actually waited until the day after Christmas, or excuse me, day after Thanksgiving, to watch Noel on Disney Plus, which is an original movie starring Anna Kendrick on Disney Plus. Did you happen to get a chance to see that flick?
I did.
I have to ask what you thought of it, though. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Well, I think it's funny. I think the message is there saying, yes, anybody can be Santa Claus kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's pulling really hard to try so hard to be different that it's not going to make it timeless. It will be here and gone and forgotten.
It was fun. It was funny.
Right. It's fun. It makes you laugh.
Yeah.
I think the meaning behind it was okay, but it's more of a one and done. I personally don't care if I ever see it again. And I didn't leave it with, ooh, let's watch that again. I'm like, yeah, I watched that. Take it out of my watch list.
I can't say I disagree. Although I really enjoyed it. I will probably watch it again next year, around this time. Mainly because, I'll rank it up there with some of the other ones that you just kind of have in the background. Because there's a lot of times we end up putting a movie on, and I hate to say this. Sometimes my family gets, we'll just do this. All of a sudden you're watching a movie and you're you're flipping through on your screen type of thing. And that obviously that's not really good family time. And sometimes I'm a bad example of that. And but at the same time, I'll probably watch it again, but it's not necessarily going to be my go-to. I'll watch Elf again for sure, and
Right.
that will be, as I said, Elf and Die Hard will be a Christmas Eve thing because it's kind of a tradition. And we'll watch Elf as a family, and then my wife will go upstairs and go to bed, and then we turn on Die Hard. Um, my wife just doesn't like. My wife doesn't like a lot of those types of action movies. She just doesn't. So fine, she goes upstairs for that long winter's nap. We watch Die Hard. It is one of those things. Oh, so Mike actually mentioned something here really quick. He says, I get to go to the Christmas Story house every year being here in Cleveland. That's really cool. I didn't realize it was actually in Cleveland. I mean, I knew it wasn't in Indiana, but Cleveland.
No, I would love to. I've been there once. It's a museum. And Mike, you are lucky to go there all the time. Don't they have like a gigantic inflatable leg lamp there this year that's in the outside of it? I think this year they have like a 40-foot gigantic inflatable leg lamp too.
Oh my gosh, that
But
is
I
hilarious.
bought a leg lamp cookie cutter from there just so I can make leg lamp sugar cookies during Christmas.
Now that is awesome. I mean, to do that sort of thing, first off, sugar cookies at Christmas time. Oh, yes, thank you. But to have the leg lamp, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm laughing only because I'm picturing going to, like, some kind of gathering, and it's like people are looking at this like, what is this? It's the leg lamp.
Right. So, well, here where I am, in the Midwest here, it was funny because even on the freeways today, they always put up crazy signs, on the freeway where it's 20 minutes to downtown or whatever. And today it said, life is fragile, drive safe.
I actually have a friend of mine that lives up by you, and she actually sent me something to that extent. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. In fact, there was also another friend of mine that tried to send something through the U.S. Postal Service, and she put a note on there, fragile, and then in parentheses, fragile. Get it? And so, supposedly it made it to its destination in one piece, but hopefully, well, she was hoping it was going to provide some laughter to, those that are actually handling her package, which I think if I was a mail carrier, I would have cracked up when I saw that.
Well, and if it's anything like the post office in Muppets Letters to Santa, I'm sure somebody laughed.
Oh, probably. And the thing is that you mentioned before the show, we were talking about things that it was kind of like the Muppet Christmas, Muppet Christmas Carol. And I actually had all the intent in the world to actually watch it again before we actually talked here today. Because that's one thing I will say. I love Disney Plus is that it has got a ton of movies that I've always loved as a kid. And now I don't have to actually go out and try to find them. So it was one of those cases where I really want to see that again. I want my kids to see it. That's something I really want to share with them, because after all, most of the things I want to do with my, during the Christmas season is to do stuff with my kids. I think I just try to really absorb that time with them, and we all love watching movies. So that is something that I really super enjoy. Let me ask you this: since I haven't seen it in a while, and I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit, out of practice when it comes to the Muppet Christmas Carol. How would you rank it in the sense of some of the other Muppet movies before, the original Muppet movies, so to speak?
Well, I think ranking in the Muppet movies, it can't be in the same vein because it's a take on a story.
Okay, I see.
You can only rank it with like Muppets Wizard of Oz, Muppets Treasure Island, those. I think for that, it's fantastic. I think the music is good. It's actually very true to the Dickens book. Now, ranking it in the scope of Muppet Christmas specials is a whole nother thing, because you have Muppet Family Christmas, you have Muppets Letters to Santa, you have John Denver and the Muppets Christmas Together.
I remember that one. Carol. I remember. Yep.
Right. So there's a variety of a very, very Muppet Christmas movies. So there's a lot of them. And I think when it comes to those, it's in the top two. Now, when it comes to Disney Plus, they're playing the original DVD if you would have gotten it the first time it got released on home video, which I have both of them, of course, because I'm a hoarder like that. But so it has
You're a collector.
a song in it. So it has the original, When the Love Is Gone song in it, the version on Disney Plus.
Okay.
And that was not the theatrical cut, if people remember. That song was cut out because they felt it was too slow for kids. And still watching it to this day, it really wraps up the story and it makes sense. And the whole scene makes sense with Gonzo's comments after. But even watching it now with my kids, even it's a very slow song for the movie for kids. But that's the version on Disney Plus. Little tidbit there.
Now I'm going to have to actually watch that one. That's one thing I will say about Disney Plus. I'm a big Disney Plus fan. And while I will probably say half of my stream views, come from Disney Plus viewing, I will say that I am going to enjoy the plethora of Christmas stuff this year. And as mentioned about the example, the Tim Allen Santa Claus movies, the all the Christmas animation. And I know there's even a whole lot more that I haven't even scratched the surface. I know I haven't gone through everything in its catalog to find the seasonal type items. And I do like to do seasonal type movie.
Yeah. And Disney Plus has some decent stuff. Even when you go to the Disney Channel original movies, they have like The Ultimate Christmas Present, 'Twas the Night, all of those, which are still fun ones to watch too. So, like I said, you're going to open Pandora's box if you're going to ask me about Christmas stuff. So, even down to the Christmas toy, which the original cut had Kermit introduce the special with Jim Henson. The DVD does not have that. But if you ever watch it and really watch it, can we say Toy Story before Toy Story ever happened? I'm going to leave it at that.
I can see that.
It is Toy Story. Space toy in a box, thinks it's real. The other toys convince it that it's just a toy. It is Toy Story.
Toy Story before Toy Story was cool.
Yes, kind of like Cars. Can we say Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox?
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. My mind is blown because I love that movie. That movie is awesome.
Pictures. So Disney has all the rights to make that into Cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see. Oh, man.
Okay, but that's Christmas, though. There's so many good Christmas ones. You have Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And that's a really good one. I love that Jim Henson classic. No matter which of the three versions you're able to see.
I'm not familiar with that one myself, to be honest with you.
Emmett Otter was great. Came out in 1977. It's a basic gift of the Magi.
Okay.
You need to watch it. It is a classic. Great Paul Williams songs.
I like Paul Williams stuff.
And if you watch the original VHS copy, if you can find it transferred anywhere, there's a lot more Kermit moments in it. And then they released the DVD years later where Kermit was just in the beginning. And then they released the DVD where he was stripped away from it altogether. And now the newest one has his intro in the beginning, but not the other parts. Then a lot of people will say that the original is the version with him throughout the whole thing. That's actually not really the case. The one where he's just in the beginning is actually the real version that aired on TV. And then the following year in 78, it went to HBO. And they wanted to fill gaps with commercial breaks when it was on TV. So when it went to HBO, where everyone remembers it, it's these added scenes to fill a full hour of their time.
Wow. I mean, first off, I have to make this one comment. Your knowledge of the history of the different versions of these things is so incredible. I mean, it just goes to show that you just don't watch these things. You really pay attention and study your collection, don't you?
Or I need to get a life, one of the two.
No, I mean, I say this in the most positive manner because I'm kind of sitting here thinking myself, I only remember one version of some of these things. And I guess you could say I don't know of many movies, many versions that are of different cuts where it's actually really well known that it's a different cut. And for something such as that, you would think that it would really add to the story even more so, or in some cases, like you were saying, it could, with scenes that are cut being actually taken out of the story, does it really impact things? That really, not, I don't want to say impresses me, but it's like, it makes an impression on, what are we actually watching compared to what was really intended. And like Brian mentions here, is like the remake of Emmett Otter is going to be amazing. The cutscenes of the original and Kermit soon to be on streaming.
Right. Well, and the one with all those cut scenes of Kermit throughout the whole thing, and the closing where Kermit gives a monologue at the end, was actually the second version of Emmett Otter. But that is the most widely remembered version, because that's the version that they played over and over again after its original air date. And that's just the version that everyone remembers, which I think is still the better version. I mean, I still think it is as well. So I don't know about the remake. I'm still torn on that. But I love Emmett Otter to death. So to me, it's still good. It's when they finally released an official soundtrack 2 years ago digitally, I had to get it.
So let's actually switch gears here a little bit, because I know in the beginning you talked a lot about a lot of the Rankin Bass type of shows that we all know it as the classics. I mean, to us, when you think classics, you think of these particular productions, and I don't think a lot of us actually realize these are Rankin Bass productions. If I'm not mistaken, you have a special relationship with Rankin Bass in a way. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, well, besides just growing up with Rankin Bass, it's almost like a second love along with Disney. But right now, actually, just coming out this month for pre-orders is the Frosty the Snowman 50th anniversary scrapbook. So it is written by Rick Goldschmidt, who is the official historian of Rankin Bass, and Wes Garlands, who has been working with Rick for a long time. And then myself, I designed the entire inside of the whole layout, the book, everything, all these pieces, going into the history of Frosty, how he was created, a lot of the imagery, the original sketches, rare photographs, all of that.
Wow.
So it's definitely a look, because you don't realize, that the song has been around for a long time, but the special's only 50 years old. But it's Rankin Bass who set that standard for holiday specials, and there's a lot more to Rankin Bass than people realize. Most people say Santa Claus is coming to town, Frosty the Snowman, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Sure.
And that's pretty much it. People don't really know what Rankin Bass actually is a lot of times. But they did many, many, many different things. And I also run the official Rankin Bass Facebook group as well. And coming in 2020, we're going to have the official Rankin Bass podcast. So not only will I be doing Diz Radio, I'll be doing the Rankin Bass podcast as well. But Rankin Bass has, some really good stuff for the holidays. And the Frosty the Snowman 50th scrapbook it's amazing. Almost 150 pages of some of the rarest things that you're not going to really be able to see it online, from old newspaper clippings, actual letters to the voice actors, things like that. It's a really good in-depth of everything from merchandise all the way through concept and drawings.
Wow. I mean, the thing of it is that I don't think a lot of us actually would think of a classic Christmas cartoon, or any seasonal cartoon for that matter, or any cartoon for that matter, to actually have something that has such a history where you could actually collect that much for an awesome scrapbook like that. I mean, I do remember a lot of the years with my parents watching those very, very shows. And I remember, and I will even say, I remember one year where for some reason I thought it was going to be on a Tuesday night, and instead it was on a Monday night. And I tuned in on Tuesday to find something else. And I was really disappointed because I didn't get to see my Frosty. But that I think I'm going to have to look at that, because I think that is a real big part of animation history. I mean, we joke around now about some of the animation that's out there. That is some of the, I think the stop motion type, you know, animation is actually some of the hardest that you can do, and they do it so well.
Right. I mean, Rankin Bass, they're known for all their stop motion or animagic as they called it, and all of that. So I mean, it's everything like I said, Santa Claus is coming to town. The Year Without a Santa Claus,
I remember
which
that
is
one.
actually based off of a great children's book if you've ever read it.
Mhm.
Then also, for Halloween, people forget they had Mad Monster Party with Boris Karloff, Phyllis Diller, some great names attached to that one. You also have Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, Pinocchio's Christmas, The Leprechaun's Christmas Gold. I mean, the holiday ones go on forever. You have Jack Frost, The First Christmas Snow with Angela Lansbury, which is great, where she plays a nun about a blind boy who finally is able to see on Christmas. There's also, if you want to get into the animation with them too, they also have you have Frosty, but then you will have the true sequel to Frosty. Everyone knows the John Goodman junky one that was not produced by Rankin Bass, called Frosty Returns.
Well, it wasn't. I always thought it was.
No, Frosty Returns with John Goodman had nothing to do with Rankin Bass at all. So that one had nothing to do with them. But the true sequel is Frosty's Winter Wonderland, that was narrated by Andy Griffith. And the LP was actually released through Disneyland Records. So, you have that Disney tie there. You also have 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which is really fun with some great music. I mean, I could go on and on with Rankin Bass Christmas specials. And if you're like, Rankin Bass is old, it's not part of my generation, if you're younger than us, all right, well, let's get into the 80s. Rankin Bass produced Thundercats, Silverhawks, all of those things that you know of as well as the original, The Hobbit, the animated versions of The Hobbit and Return of the King.
No joke. I had no idea about that. I mean, it seems like you're throwing all these curveballs at me. It's like I'm really surprised, because I remember, the Thundercats. I remember The Hobbit, type of thing. And wow, that's kind of funny that it's actually a different type of connection. These seasonal type items and where they're going with that.
Right. I mean, it's all over the board. Like I said, I could talk for hours, and I don't want to bore your listeners, but I could just talk for hours about Christmas movies and all kinds of stuff. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life, everything. I mean, and as much as somebody is going to tell me don't watch the colorized version, if you watch the colorized version on Blu-ray, watch the making of, because they spent years colorizing It's a Wonderful Life and comparing it to production stills and production notes to make sure all the colors were correct.
Oh, sorry. Wow. And I know, because I know a lot of colorized films. I mean, even if you go back to some of the original, well, what was it? It was, there were some Disney movies back in the day where they actually went to go ahead and colorize them, and people just argued the whole idea about colorizing what was already black and white was already a masterpiece. And I myself, I remember some of the early colorizations. And yeah, it looked like a watercolors, but I can see where that would be, really messing around with a classic such as It's a Wonderful Life.
Right. And I was torn on it because I am a purist with some things, but when I watched the making of and realizing how much time and detail they put into it, I had a bigger appreciation for certain ones. So,
well, that's I could see that. I think It's a Wonderful Life, to me, I like the black and white version. Anything that was originally black and white, I tend to like to keep it black and white. There's very few exceptions to that.
So you don't want to watch anything with Uncle Walt that originally aired in black and white, but they have a colorized version.
If that's the only thing I can get my hands on, I'll do it.
I had to play devil's advocate.
No, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are some things that I'm only kind of speaking from a guesstimate perspective here, but there was a lot of Disney stuff that had to be colorized as a part of a restoration process. And I'm kind of guessing to that. I do like to see the black and white things. Like, could you only imagine if someone tried to colorize Steamboat Willie? I mean,
Right.
that would.
No, I agree. And there's a lot of things where it should not be colorized.
No,
That's why I specifically said you have to watch the making of that one.
I think that's interesting.
There is a lot of shoddy colorization out there that should not be done.
It also brings up the point, especially with a lot of these different specials, that things that you may only watch once a year. You keep on saying to yourself, okay, I only watch this once a year. Take time to go through some of those special features. You might find something
Right.
that is really going to be pretty exciting. Now, I can't give specific examples, but I know that during some of the things that I've been watching on Disney Plus, for example, a lot of those particular titles, if you go down the menu a little bit, they will have some special features to go along with it.
Yeah.
And I just think that is something that people should take a look at, because if you don't, you might miss something like that, such as the making of the colorized version of It's a Wonderful Life. I think that's pretty.
A lot of these DVDs. Like I have 5 versions of Mary Poppins. And why do I have 5 versions of Mary Poppins? Because each one has a different bonus feature.
Okay, I can dig that. And the fact of the matter is that I like example, I have 2 versions of The Little Mermaid. I think I actually accidentally have 3 versions of Monsters Inc. And the fact of the matter is that I will flip back and forth to watch certain special features. Or dare I even say, sometimes I'll actually listen to the commentaries.
Oh, I love the commentary. So, but I also love old time radio shows. So, to me, listening to something like that I enjoy it. So, but yeah, I mean, holiday specials. I mean, there's just so many out there that John Denver and the Muppets Christmas Together.
I remember that. I remember the first time that came on when I was a little boy.
Everyone knows the record.
Yes.
Nobody remembers the special. And I have it transferred to DVD because back in the 80s and early 90s, Disney Channel used to actually air it every Christmas on the Disney Channel still. So we recorded it on VHS. So I had the pleasure of digitizing that and ripping it to DVD.
By chance, you haven't seen that available for streaming on Disney Plus yet, have you?
No, I don't know if it ever will. Just because of some of the copyright issues. Much like Christmas, when you buy it on DVD, it is a very different cut than the original version that I transferred from home video, because royalties with the songs, it's missing 4 different songs.
I've been hearing a lot more about editing of songs from one version to another, or taking things out altogether. Not just with Disney Plus. I want to make sure that's clear.
No, it's just because of the royalties. I mean, in Muppets Family Christmas, I mean, you have where they have the baby Muppets, and they're like, "Oh, weren't we cute as babies?" And then Animal breaks through the screen, and they're like, "Oh, Animal." Well, in the original, they actually sing Jingle Bell Rock for 2 minutes. And it breaks through the screen. I'm like, well, that makes a lot more sense. Sometimes when you watch it, when you've seen the original and you watch the edits, you're like, oh, now I realize why it doesn't make any sense. But there are a lot of other holiday classics. I mean, I don't want to take over your show, but I mean, I could go on and on with a million different Christmas specials. I mean, Smoky Mountain Christmas with Dolly Parton. It's cheesy, it's horrible, but you can't go wrong when you got the $6 Million Man and Dolly Parton in a Christmas movie that all of a sudden at the end has a witch in it.
I don't think I've had the luxury of watching that one.
Just try to sit through it. It's just, it'll bring you back to a time that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, as we're getting kind of towards the top of the hour, let's wrap it up with this then. If you had to give the ultimate 5 Christmas movies or specials or shorts that you have to watch, that this is it. I mean, if you hopefully these are ones that are available, or if not, I'll go ahead and say this: if you can't find it for sale, always check out your local library. Many libraries have either a DVD library, or they have some sort of way to be able to find it for you and have it transferred to your library for your enjoyment. But what would you say would be the top 5 Christmas movies that you would just have to go ahead and enjoy this Christmas season?
Man, that is a tough call. And it's going to be all over the board for every age range.
Okay.
I like to say things in a lot of different age ranges. And I will say this too before I get into it. If you're having trouble wanting to watch the classics, as much as you may not like the colorized version or things like that, sometimes that's the best way to watch it when you want to introduce it to a new generation and actually have to sit through the whole thing. I'm just saying, my kids will sit through watching Holiday Inn if they watch the colorized version. But if I would have introduced it to them in black and white, I would have lost them and they would have never appreciated it.
Okay. I could dig that. I could dig that.
With that said, I guess 5. 5 is hard. All right.
Just 5, yeah, because I see your wheels spinning there.
Like 5 specials and 5 movies, but all right, I'll try to give 5. All right, 5. I will say National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation
Sure.
is a must. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is a must. Muppet Christmas Carol is definitely a must. One Magic Christmas is definitely a must. And now I'm torn between the last one. I don't know if I want to say the Santa Claus or the Disney animated classic small one. So I'll leave that last one up to everyone else.
Okay.
Most people say the Santa Claus, but classic Don Bluth animation from Disney, I don't know.
I guess we'll just have to say it's 5 plus a bonus. And leave it at that.
One of the bonus features.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Jonathan, thank you very much for being on the show tonight. Why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you and your current productions and where they're going to find you and some of your new stuff coming in 2020.
Well, you can find us every week at Diz Radio, DIZradio.com, where we interview animators, actors, celebrities, you name it. We're in the middle of our 9th annual Very Merry Christmas celebration. Last week, we had the Armorer from The Mandalorian on. So if you like Star Wars, the whole show is Christmas Star Wars. I'll just leave it at that and leave it as a surprise for all of you.
I'm there.
Shows every week, so DIZradio.com. You can also find me Rankin and Bass group on Facebook, the Rankin Bass Classics group, and also you can go to miserbros.com. That's MISERBROS.com, and you can get the Frosty the Snowman 50th anniversary scrapbook that we were talking about, and coming soon in 2020, which will be the rankinbasspodcast.com. But until then, yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy DizRadio.com, and it's definitely something different, and hopefully you can join us in the celebration, because in 2020 we celebrate 10 years of Diz Radio.
Oh,
and
wow.
we're planning a banquet. So this is the first I'm actually making this public. I wasn't going to announce anything right now, so you'll get the teaser. We're planning on having a banquet with certain voice actors, animators, some celebrities, to celebrate our 10-year anniversary, with all the proceeds going to stop bullying in schools.
That's very cool. A great celebration for a great cause.
So, yeah, thanks for having me on. Hopefully I didn't talk too much. I will ramble way too much.
Hey, people will say the same thing about me, which I'm like, yeah, it's true. All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm going to put you in our green room. Please enjoy the wonderful catering that we have stored up for you, and I'll catch you in just a minute. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to press this button right here. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home. All right, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us here at this episode of the Behind the Ears Podcast Christmas movie and TV special. You know what? Here's the thing. There's one thing I love about this type of topic. Yeah, I know it's not exactly all Disney stuff because let's face it, there's a lot of great things out there to watch during the holidays. But of course, there's a lot of Disney hooks that Jonathan talked about today. A lot that I actually really had no idea about. I love talking to people on the show because I get to learn something new along with you. So by all means, try to, if you have to, rewind the show, take another listen to some of his suggestions. And I hope that with that said, that your viewing throughout the holiday season is absolutely magical. Well, with that being said, I would just happen to say that I thank you all for being here tonight. Sorry for some of the technical problems, but by all means, I hope until we meet again, you have a magical day. Take care.